Well, I think we're live. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all very well. It's not quite 18:30, but nearly. I shall wait until 18:30. My wife is watching remotely today and will tell me if things are working and if they are not. Right, good. I see that she is on. Fantastic. Hello, my dear. I do miss you. Okay. Good. Well, a formal hello. You might notice that there is a slight echo on my voice, and this is known as reverb. And we're increasing the technical complexity of these little broadcasts every week, and I hope that this will make the guitar and the voice sound a little bit better. It should sound a little bit like I'm in a warm theatre, is what the thing tells me. Anyway, I hope you're all very well, and I'm very grateful to you for joining me. I'll tell you what, I'll turn that off while we're just chatting. There we are. And it's a bit different this week, of course. I'm in the bush, alone, without my dear wife Kirsten doing all of the technical stuff behind the scenes, so I've had to do it all myself. And so, well, we don't really know what's going to happen. I was slightly late back from Game Drive, and as pleasurable as it was, you know, I was just a little bit flustered. So, I hope the concert will be enjoyable tonight. 5 songs, as always, and some stories behind them. We've got Khanti, the technical guy from Wild Earth, doing his gym outside, so if you hear a scream, it means that he's overdone it on the bench press slightly. I may have to get up and go and help him. I hope that won't be the case. Good. I think we should get straight to it. The first song is a sonnet of Shakespeare's. I meant to look up which sonnet it is. The more learned of you will know immediately. It's called Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? And I sang this song, I first heard it, recorded by the great David Gilmour, and he recorded it at he'd created this studio from a houseboat called the Asturia, I think it was called, something like that, which was moored on the Thames, and someone else wrote the music to it, and then he sang it. And it's just utterly lovely, the way he did it. And I always wanted to sing it to somebody, and I just didn't have anybody to sing it to for a very long time. And then I got married in March this year, and I wanted to sing something to my dear wife at our wedding, and I tried to write something, and it just didn't come nicely. And really, when you've got Shakespeare, you can't really compete. And so I sang this to her at the very end of my speech. And interestingly, this particular sonnet was written not to a woman, but to a man. And one of the words one of the lines goes, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And I hope that you will not be offended by my changing that to, and often is her gold complexion dimmed, because obviously I married Kirsten, and she's a lady. Well, a woman. Anyway. Okay. I'm hoping everything can hear. Good. All right, here we go. Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day by William Spokeshake. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rougher winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is her gold complexion dimmed. At every fair, from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thine eternal summer shall not fail, nor lose possession of that fair thou wast, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. There we are. Now, my wife is not here to clap, so I'm hoping that she's clapping furiously at home. There you are, my dear. That was for you. Of course. Now, are there any questions? I don't have her looking. Can you please put this up as a separate clip? That's a beautiful tune for a favourite sonnet. Oh, M. Ruth, I will. I want to record it properly, though. So, I mean, this is obviously a live recording. There are a couple of bloopses in the middle, and small ones, I think. But I'd like to try and record it properly, and then, yes, then I will put it up. Thank you very much for all of your clapping hands. That's very kind. And any other questions you're welcome to ask. I can see them, which is amazing technology. Hey, can you believe it? Now, the next song, while I wait to see if there are any questions, is called The Moonlit Valley. Now, this song was written, I suppose, over the course of years, really. It's inspired by the wilderness and by the romance of the wilderness, as are most of my songs. And this particular one is not actually a sad song. It's quite a cheerful song in that it's about hope. Hope in love and hope in romance. And I remember when the idea for it first came to me, I was a young chap, probably about 17 years old. In fact, I was definitely exactly 17 years old. And I was working at a resort in the Drakensberg Mountains in Natal. And what was so interesting about it was that, the only reason I had a job was that there was a strike on, and so they employed a whole lot of us guests to work over the course of a week or so. And at the end of my stint there, it was the most magical place. It's still the most magical place. I went for a walk, and it was through a forest, and the forest kind of came out on a ledge and looked down east over the valley. And it was getting pretty late, the moon was starting to come up, and I remember a few things about that time, and it was obviously a long time ago, it was in 1993. I remember the way the grass moved in the winter breeze, I remember the smell of the dust, and I remember the sound of the silence. And it was the first time that I can remember being touched by wilderness. I didn't know how to define it at the time, but I had been touched by wilderness and I had acknowledged it. I acknowledged that there was a connection there. And, you know, your hormones are raging at that time of your life, and so it was just romantic, and, you know, any female that happened to be in the general vicinity of the place with me, you know, I took an immediate fancy to. Anyway, no song came of it until much, much later, till around about 2005, when I was just plinking along on a guitar, thinking of that day. I was sitting at Londolozi, and I was thinking of the Drakensberg Mountains in the winter and how magnificent it was. And so came out The Moonlit Valley. Here we go. She blew into town one day on a wind that misted up her eyes. Her hair a misty shade of yellow and boots that stretched all the way to her thighs. She had a certain confidence, a look that held a man's gaze. She walked up to the counter where I was standing and she whispered in my face. She said, in the moonlit valley, oh, I waited wishing time for her to find me, grass whispering your name on a murmur, lips softly in the still air. She stayed a while, we drank a bit, and she talked to me about life like it's a riddle. I sang a song I thought she'd like, but she started talking in the middle. She said I looked like I was hiding, and I told her, you remind me of the sea. She danced in a flowing skirt, the colors of the joker. I dreamed of that moonlit valley where I waited wishing time for her to find me, grass whispering her name. Goodbye. Oh, I don't know if I'll see her again, but I'd be stupid not to try. Maybe on a mountain top where the land meets the sea. She'll be dancing in that skirt again, the colors of the joker. I dreamed of that moonlit valley where I waited wishing time for her to find me, grass whispering her name on a murmur, lips softly in the still air. Touch me like a warm breeze brings a shudder. I can almost feel her silhouette in the moonlight, in the moonlight, in the moonlight, the silhouette in the moonlight, the silhouette, silhouette in the moonlight. And there you are. That is the Moonlit Valley. And I sang that probably 500 times or so in the Bomas at Londolozi, inflicting it on any guests that I could. And that was a particularly wonderful time of my life because all of the staff were enormously supportive, and so they'd come through and listen to me sing, and we'd all drink far too much and have a wonderful party just about every night for about a year, really. Anyway, I hope you like that song. If you have any questions, I am willing to answer them. Thank you, Peter. You say that's the best song that you've heard of mine. That's very kind of you. Spats, no, I don't really have a new album. This is a kind of old song. Lucky guest, says Paula. Thank you, Paula. Oh, Kirsten, where is my whiskey? It's probably in the little cocktail cabinet next to which you're sitting. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any whiskey down here, and typical, or difficult is what I meant to say, to get any booze these days. Emma Ruth, you say I never drink too much. You can never drink too much. I think you're probably right. Right. A possible song to write is It's Always Saturday in Lockdown. Augustine Valentino says that's Auntie Christine Valentino says that's wonderful. Yes, it is kind of always Saturday in lockdown, isn't it? Shanzi, I wasn't going to do any Johnny Clegg tonight, but we can see. I'll see how I'm doing towards the end. Yes, indeed, our beard. Kirsten is really in Johannesburg. Oh, you're answering CNAC. There we go. Okay, thank you, our beard. All right, here we go. The next song, I suspect that many of you will know, which is not mine, unfortunately. And I remember learning this song, or hearing it, when I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, and my father had just purchased a cassette tape recorder. Yes, that's how modern we were, a cassette tape recorder. And he set about recording a lot of his old LPs and putting them on tapes, and then we'd have them in the car when we went anywhere, to school mostly. And he loved certain kinds of folk music. He loved the Kingston Trio hugely, or certain guys of them. I know there have been lots of different kinds of Kingston Trios, but he loved the Kingston Trio, and he loved Joan Baez very much, and especially the stuff that she was playing just with her and a guitar. And I mean, her 60s stuff with her and a guitar is astounding. She's a actually brilliant guitar player that it kind of gets covered over by her unbelievable voice, but a wonderful folk guitarist. And she probably, I think, did the greatest justice to Bob Dylan's wonderful songs. And I heard this song one day. I can remember the road we were on the way to school, and I remember it distinctly because it was an amusing road, because there was a couple clearly having an affair, an illicit affair that they weren't supposed to be, and they parked their cars next to each other on the pavement of this one road. And I remember we were listening to the song when my father pointed out what was going on. I was obviously too young and naive to know, and so it always stuck in my mind. Probably quite an appropriate song for whoever's jilted partners were about to be jilted. And it's called Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. It's from the album The Freewheeling Bob Dylan. That was when it first came out. And then Joan Baez sang it on a live album, and she's sung it many times since, but that was the one that I heard. And it's all about, it's a song really about being broken up with, and kind of putting up a brave face and saying, well, you know, I was probably going to leave anyway, sort of stuff, when actually you weren't. And it's called Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Here we go. Well, ain't no use just sit and wonder why, babe, even you don't know by now. Ain't no use just sit and wonder why, babe, it don't matter anyhow. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on, but don't think twice, it's alright. And it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, like you never done before. Ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, I can't hear you anymore. I wish there was something you could do or say to make me wanna change my mind and stay. But we never did too much talking anyway. But don't think twice, it's alright. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, the light I never know. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, I'm on the dark side of the road. I'm thinking and a-wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child, I'm told. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's alright. So long, honey, baby. Where I'm bound, I can't tell. Goodbye is too good a word, babe, so I'll just say fare thee well. I ain't saying you treated me unkind. You could have done better, but I don't mind. You just kind of wasted my precious time. But don't think twice, it's alright. There it is. So if people ask me, do you have a favorite song? What is your favorite song? That's definitely up there. That's Great Heart and one or two others, but that's one of my favorite songs. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, a little bit like Peter, Paul and Mary's version, without Peter and Paul. Without Paul and Mary, or Peter and Mary. I hope I didn't sound too much like Mary there. Right. Okay. Any questions? Thank you, David. You say you're enjoying them. Fantastic. Not a question, but Willie Nelson. Yeah, these things are now moving too fast. I'm going to have to put my hand on them. There we go. Okay. Do I know a song called Long Dark Veil? Yes, I do know Long Dark Veil, Tom, but I can't play it at the moment. Sorry about that. Thank you. You're all being very, very kind to me. Nostalgia? Yes, very nostalgic. Saffirman, I don't sing much Rodriguez, I'm afraid. I mean, I suppose we could learn some at some stage. Lego South African fan Mario, one question, how do you sing so well? Oh, years in the choir, and well, it's probably your ears. They're, I think we're doing okay. Thank you. Right, okay. Shall we move on to the next one? Here we go. So, the next one was not so much inspired by nature, but inspired by the coming of summer. And I was going through a messy breakup at the time, and that's when a lot of good music comes out. And, it's not a great thing, I don't think, that when one is going through a breakup, that tends to be one's most creative time, because it is very painful, very unpleasant for all concerned, and I suppose if you can get a song or two out of it, then fine, it's okay. But I wouldn't go back to those days for any money. And I don't know why it is that the song is called Scarlet O, and because the girl's name in it is Scarlett O'Hara, I don't know why that's her name. I don't have a massive fascination with Gone with the Wind. It just turned out that way. And it's about a late evening. I think the words are pretty self-explanatory. And this woman, and we all know people like this, men and women, who are very popular. And they are floating through life and through people and having relationships with people, both platonic and non, that don't really scratch too much below the surface because they are perhaps too afraid to be vulnerable. I guess that's what it's about. I actually didn't know what I was going to say about the song. That kind of makes sense to me. So I suppose that's what it's about. And yeah, Not sure there's anything else to say about it, really. Very similar style to the one before. Here we go. Scarlet O. Scarlett O'Hara came a-gliding down the stairs. Her hair was loose and free, her dress the colour of her name. She carried in her heart the charms and deceit of her kind, and on her lips a whisper of the dreams and falling of men, of the dreams and falling of men. She was quiet and she was watchful, the crowd gathered in the evening outside. She slipped among them all with the ease of water in a stream, holding contact just long enough to keep eyes following in her wake. Oh, she smiled as she moved at the dreams and falling of men, at the dreams and falling of men. The dusk began to settle, the candles flickered in the cool evening breeze, holding court in a group of hearts hopeful as the warmth in spring. But her mind was absent, she was searching, uneasy in the party, for in her soul she knew of the dreams and falling of men, of the dreams and falling of men. Late that night she sat the window open wide. She longed for him to come, to touch her like the warm air outside. She waited an age, hoping he was coming back. Oh, her tears wet her cheeks at the dreams and falling of men, at the dreams and falling of men, at the dreams and falling of men. And that was Scarlet O. Thank you very much. I have to wait for YouTube to catch up with me. It's about 20 seconds behind. There's some applause. Thank you very much. Oh, my wife's clapping too. It looks like I'm clapping myself. Thank you, Kirsten. Mary J., you say when you retire you want to learn to play the guitar. Well, that's good. You should. It's such a wonderful and actually relatively easy thing to learn to play a few songs on. It's obviously nigh on impossible to master, but it is very easy to learn to play a few songs. Okay, now, another experiment. James, do you cover any Mahotela Queen songs? No, I don't, Mrs. low bob. I think you need a bigger band, really. You know, they were a pretty big band, pretty impressive big band. But I could certainly give it a listen and see if there's something that would be suitable. Right. Okay. David Lloyd wants Pink Floyd. Not right now. Miss Christie, yes, Kirsten does sing to me sometimes. If I catch her in the right mood, she does lovely songs for me. Her favourite is a song called Loving You, which has a very high bit at the end, which has me rolling about on the floor laughing every time she sings it. She actually does have a singing voice, but has never sung really, and so thinks she can't, but she can. I am very confident that the air that we will have a good, solid ability to sing. Okay, now, what we're going to do is, as per last week, we're going to have a bit of a backing track here. This one is, what should we say? It's an old song, and it was the first pop song that I ever liked, and it's the first album I ever owned. It was a pirated copy, recorded by my cousin, who sent it to me, or she recorded it. She had 2 cassette players, and they weren't connected to each other, and she recorded the album for me onto a blank tape. Just, you remember when you used to play them, some of you won't remember this, but some of you will, when you used to have 2 cassette players, and you put them next to each other and push record, and then nobody could come in the room, and you had to try not to make a noise because it was impossible otherwise to get a decent recording. And the recordings were dreadful, and the tapes always stretched, etc., etc. Anyway, I said to her way back when, I will never like pop music because my father is not a fan of any kind of rock or pop music, and so I thought I should be the same. And she made me write it down in her diary that I wouldn't, and about a year later I asked her to record this for me, which she did. And it has disappeared and come back into my life many, many times over the intervening 35 odd years, and the song is by the Norwegian group a-ha, and it was my wife and my first dance at our wedding, and we did it last year sometime. a-ha redid the song, and they did it very slowly and unplugged, and it was absolutely gorgeous, and that's the one that we danced to at our wedding. And then it morphed into the much quicker one, which everyone knows, and that's when everybody started to behave very badly and continued to do so into the wee hours. Anyway, so what I did with this, much like last week, is that I've tried to I have written a string arrangement to it. It's only strings, it's not a full orchestra, and we'll just see how it goes, really, if that's okay. Yes? Here we go. Talking away, I don't know what I'm to say, I'll say it anyway. Today is another day to find you, shine away. I'll be coming for you, okay, and take on me. Take me on, I'll be gone in a day or two. So needless to say, I'm odds and ends, but that's me, I'm stumbling away, slowly learning that life is okay. And say after me, It's no better to be safe than sorry, and take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. Oh, the things that you say, oh, is it a lie for just to play my worries away? You're all the things I've got to remember. You're shying away. I'll be coming for you anyway, and take on me. Take me on. I'll be gone in a day or two. 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 There we go. Thank you very much. It's very odd not having my wife here, I must say. There's absolutely no sound at all when I finished, so I don't know if it's been absolutely appalling or if it came across all right. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the strings. Oh, my wife says she loved it. Well, that's good. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Are we going to do an encore tonight? What's the time? 19:08. Good grief. Okay, I suppose we could do an encore if you'd like one. We've had some requests for some Pink Floyd and some requests for some Johnny Clegg. I think let's do, we'll do some Johnny Clegg, shall we? Good. If I can remember the words to this one, I hope I can. Okay, so this song, one of my favourite Johnny Clegg songs, and it's got a bit of a story around it. Johnny Clegg, although he spoke Zulu like a Zulu and had studied Zulu culture and history and existence extensively from history, he was also somebody who studied Zulu culture in the present. And that made him so special. It made him so unique because he had such insight into the juxtaposition of the modern world and a traditional culture. Anyway, he was actually born in Britain, grew up for a large proportion of his time, I think, in Zimbabwe, early childhood, and then he moved to South Africa. And this particular song was written about the mines in Johannesburg, and they were, for those of you who don't know, South Africa has produced most of the world's gold, I think, or certainly a goodly proportion of it. But most of it is, or came from, low-grade ore, which meant that it was expensive to extract, and it was extracted from very deep underground and still is. And in order to make it profitable, you had to have an extremely cheap labor force. And there were all sorts of coercive, horrible ways that the mining magnates of old got labour to come into Johannesburg and the Witwatersrand and indentured them and made sure that they couldn't leave, etc. And this is about a miner digging underground, and it's about the sense of peace that the African sky gives him. And I always love it because whenever I'm feeling a little bit down or miserable or like the world's getting on top of me, it never fails to cheer me up to look upwards and see the great blue vault of Africa over my head. And so this is it, African Sky Blue. I hope I remember the words. Are you ready? Here we go. African sky blue, your children wait for the dawn. African sky blue, soon a new day will be born. African sky blue, will you bless my life? African sunshine, soon you will warm your children's eyes. The African river water will dance and leap in your morning light. African sunshine, African river water, will you bless my life? Oh, 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 what can I know? What can I dream? What can I sing? What will the future bring? Oh, you shine through me, but will you see me through? African sky blue, will you see me through? African thunderstorm, your soldiers march through the air. The African rain will fall and wash away all my tears. African thunderstorm, African sky blue, will you bless my life? Oh, 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 the warrior's now a worker. His war is underground. With cordite in the darkness, he milks the bleeding veins of gold. When the smoking rock face murmurs, he only thinks of you. African sky blue, will you see me through? And there it is. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening in to this little soiree, episode 3 of Songs and Stories. I think we'll probably do another one next week, and we'll see what happens after that. Thank you very much. If there are any other questions, Kay, slowly you say, that's your first time hearing that. It really is so lovely, that song and all of his music, well, most of it. Thank you, you're all being very kind. Just wondering if there are any questions. Please sing a Beatles number. I don't know any Beatles number other than Shake It Up Baby, which is too loud. I think I need to slow this down. Dark Tranquility. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all being very kind. Okay. Right, we will do another one next week, everybody. I'm now going to attempt to end the stream. Thank you so much for joining me. I must say, I find it enormously pleasurable to do this, and I hope you do too. And thank you for making it all possible. I'll see you on Drive tomorrow, most of you. Bye-bye. End. Yes, I'm sure.